Off the top of your head, how many area supermarkets can you name? There's no shortage of grocers in and around Boston, and yet finding fresh and affordable produce is still a struggle in some neighborhoods. As part of our focus report on food, we're looking at how some so-called food deserts in the city are getting some relief. Roxbury resident Phyllis Janey comes to this farmer's market almost every week, largely because there are few options for such produce.
Except for Stop and Shop supermarket and a few small stores, it's hard to get anything fresh.
Janey says finding good fruits and vegetables in her neighborhood is a challenge. That's why the nonprofit food project launched the farmers market at Dudleytown Common 6 years ago.
This is convenient. I can walk from my house here.
While fresh produce is hard to come by, the USDA does not consider Roxbury's Dudley neighborhood a so-called food desert, areas that lack healthy food options. But that misses an important point, says Harry Smith of the Dudley Street Neighborhood Initiative.
If you overlaid the lack of car ownership onto the data that they use for census and tracking grocery stores, I think you would say this is not a very accessible place to get food.
And Smith adds that proximity to fresh produce is only one side of the food desert problem.
50% of the families in the Dudley neighborhood make $25,000 a year or less. So you try to put together a food budget for your family on $25,000 a year or less, and you cover rent and everything else. That's a real challenge. So you can see why families might just grab something cheaper.
Statistics bear that out. Compared to the rest of Boston, Dudley residents suffer higher rates of obesity, diabetes, and heart disease. But Harry Smith says local residents want better options.
Second to grocery stores, most people were getting their food from convenience or fast food stores. But at the same time, when they were asked what kinds of stores do they want to see, only 3% said fast food stores. So there's kind of this disconnect.
That's a need that farmers markets can help fill, at least for part of the year, says Grantley Payne. He manages a weekly market in Dorchester's Bowdoin Geneva neighborhood.
Today we had somebody come by and he was pointing out how in his home country, every day you would go to the market. So that basically that's what they do, you know. We're just trying to go back to what traditionally people used to do.
The Bowdoin Geneva market has been around for 5 years. Like the market in Dudley, the food for sale here comes from nearby farms. And a focus on affordability is a big part of its success.
This market here wouldn't do half as well without the different benefits like the EBT, the WIC coupons, senior coupons.
By accepting public benefits, Phyllis Janey says she can buy twice as much food at the Dudley market. And local food marts and convenience stores can't match the quality.
Unless they can count on a quick turnover, the food's not going to stay fresh long. This I can count on coming right from a farm, and I know that's going to be here.
Just a short walk from her home, even if it's just seasonal. So can we expect to see more farmers markets sprout up around the city? Sullivan Chambers is the executive director of the Food Project. Welcome to Greater Boston, Sullivan. So why is this so limited? Because even that, your food project, it's great, but it's small, it's limited. Why isn't it more expansive?
Well, one, it's resources. It's finding the farmers that want to come into the inner city and provide an opportunity so people can have fair and open access. I think the work that's taken place in the Dudley neighborhood, we have a partnership with ACE, which is...
with what?
ACE, which is access to, ACE, which is Alternatives to Community and Environment. And we have the Dudley Street Neighborhood Initiative, and the Food Project is working on what is called the Real Food Hub. And the focus there is really to engage the community, to get an understanding through surveys of what their needs are in the community. And as Harry alluded to in the video, is that 3% of the participants in the community want fast food. At the higher end, they're really looking for organic food. And we're very excited to find that in the surveys, people are looking for fresh, alternative.
So are some of the farmers reluctant, and if so, why? I mean, why couldn't there be one of these in 4 or 5 different locations?
I think in some farmers they're really looking to make an income for some farmers, and so that's part of the problem. And I think it's really important to really engage the community and get them to understand how they get access to food, whether it's teaching them how to grow it themselves or bringing the food to them in their communities through the community engagement process and having farmers markets.
Do people even know how to cook some of these fresh foods? I mean, I would think that would be kind of part of the problem.
Well, at most farmers markets, they
have little recipes.
They have recipes to teach you how to do that. There's a lot of engagement that happens in the Dudley Common Market where people are talking about the food and the commonalities of food and sharing recipes as well.
All right, let's bring Edith Murnane into the conversation. She's the Director of Food Initiatives for the City of Boston. Welcome back to Greater Boston, Edith.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here.
Whenever we have this discussion, we've had it here in Greater Boston many times over the past 20 years, I always wonder what would happen if Stop and Shop or Market Basket or Roach Brothers opened up a gigantic store in the Dudley neighborhood. What would happen? Or what are they afraid of? People wouldn't go there? They'd be priced out? What would happen?
So I don't know that it's fear that holds them back. If you look at Grove Hall, if you look at the Stop and Shop in Jackson Square, if you look at the grocery stores that opened up in South Bay, those are some of their largest constituent grocery stores. So,
well, what is it then?
So I'm not sure
that's fear. What is it?
So
you're dying to answer this. So
yeah, space, access. We've grown grocery stores in Boston from 20 to now over 40. We've tripled the amount of grocery store floor space here in the city, and so it's for grocers, I'm sure it's a delicate balance as
they don't want to deal with certain things. I mean, let's face it, a lot of them don't want to deal with maybe the number of EBT cards or that kind of thing. Isn't there another component to this? Is it slightly political?
I think that's part of it. I think, it's the population that they have to serve. I think it's the people, the have-nots, that don't really have access. But I think the key to this is really going to the community and serving the community in the places where they commonly go to and where they have access to. And so looking at farmers markets that are throughout the city, it's really getting the word out to community members around where they are and how they get access to that fresh, healthy food.
But I mean, you look at I've been in some of those convenience stores. I mean, the food is just horrible. I mean, the woman we spoke to there was right. I mean, it's like the quality, it's already been there for like 21 days. It's all withered and but I mean, doesn't it have to? Don't people have to drive the commerce there? I mean, if more people bought it, if there was a bigger turnover, but once again, there doesn't seem to be that much of a demand for it.
Well, can I jump in here for just a moment? I think what's so interesting that's happening in Dudley is really about community conversation. So there's a real question and there are real answers around what are folks looking for in Dudley, right? What kind of produce are people looking for, and how can the food project be part of that solution? And those are conversations that are happening in Dudley, but they're also happening in other areas of the city. And it's in that intersection, it's in that moment where those conversations happen with residents, making their voice heard and their voice heard so that it can find representation.
I just got to wonder, though. I mean, because I stop by that one in Copley all the time. If the same thing were replicated there, it's more than just a food stand. It's a whole happening thing. And I know they've got a big space there and everything, but you'd think that if there was bigger and it was more festive and there was flowers and everything else, more people would come. It would drive the economy. Am I wrong?
I think it's really getting the word out to people that it's there. And I think when you have a farmer's market, it's more than one farm stand. And I think it's getting more people to want to come to the inner city and also get an understanding of what do they want. And so really coming to the farmer's market with the produce that people really want. So when you look in the Dudley neighborhood, it's a very diverse neighborhood, but you have to make sure that what you're serving is what's being
what do they want
taken care of and what they want.
Tell me what kind of stuff they want there.
Right. Well, if you look at it, they have beans, there's kale, they really a need for tomatoes, which are grown in the Dudley greenhouse. And so there are things that people in that community are looking for that come from their home country, and things that are grown here that they don't really have access to on a consistent basis.
What would be a put-off? What kind of produce would be a put-off?
Well, I don't think selling potatoes in Dudley would be something that...
Really? I would think the potatoes would be... Everybody eats potatoes.
Yeah, that's why. Everyone eats potatoes. You can get potatoes anywhere.
That's true. That's true.
Right. Now, having said that, we've also found that being able to add fish to the smaller local neighborhood farmers markets has really helped bring people to to these smaller markets. So it's been one of those really interesting components. We've got a wonderful.
What kind of fish sells well?
So, so things like scup, which is a wonderful red-fleshed fish.
Yeah.
What else sells well? Bluefish, whole fish.
And it's interesting.
And what they're finding is that there's an entire cultural component to fish that helps that helps with the conversation around fruits and vegetables as well.
All right, we're going to stay on this, see what happens in the next couple of years. As always, thank you so much for coming, Sylvan Chambers.
Well, thanks for having us.
Edith Murnane, thank you.